It's now nearly 2 weeks into 2014, and as such, I want to join the bandwagon of the obligatory end of the year's game list. Now, there are several points to be made before you watch this video. Firstly, everything is subjective as I've only played roughly 11 to 12 games that have actually been released this year, and as such, this list is not necessarily a best of rather than 10 games that have been in my mind all year. So expect some criticism, and also for my points to be rather short considering time constraints. So with that said, insert transition here and let's get started. Number 10, Tomb Raider. In what was one of my most anticipated games of the year, Tomb Raider was gritty, had solid platforming, and an impressive upgrade system, but it just fell short of my expectations. The story felt padded, the tone was unbelievably inconsistent, and the game just felt pretty underwhelming. I never really cared about what was going on, and I eventually found myself struggling to complete it. I understand a lot of people find this to be one of the best games of the year, but for me, I just felt numb and unsatisfied. Number 9, Dead Space 3. My response to Dead Space 3 was completely the opposite of what many people thought of this game, in the same vein as Tomb Raider. Sure, it was essentially just a third-person shooter at this point, and the new enemy types and setting were uncreative, but I just felt it was like any other Dead Space game. It still had strong moments of tension and sinister combat, and the jump scares are just as effective as they've always been, even though it's far too common. The crafting system also kept me interested to see what oddity I'd be able to create next, and I found myself liking the game as if it was an adaptation of John Carpenter's version of The Thing. Number 8, Splinter Cell Blacklist. Ignoring the fact this didn't need to be a Splinter Cell game, especially considering Michael Ironside is replaced and leaves Sam Fisher sounding like he had a vocal cord scraping, Blacklist is still one of the best pure stealth games of 2013. The controls are completely smooth depending on your reflex as to what's happening on screen, and the ability to complete missions without alerting enemies or killing any targets is definitely satisfying and rewarding. No matter the style you want to play, the difficulty certainly gives stealth fans and shooter fans a proper challenge, especially on purist mode when everything turns into bloody murder. Number 7, Saints Row 4. Yeah, believe it or not, I came into this generation of gaming with the Saints Row Xbox 360 bundle, and I feel I owe this series both some form of condolences and gratitude. On the one hand, it feels like it never left summer of 2006, and on the other, I'm glad it went the direction it did. It's absurd, juvenile, and does little to advance the complexity of gaming, but it's a game that you can enjoy without having to take it seriously. Saints Row 4 is essentially a superhero game with great homages, characters, jokes, and music. You can either go with the game's insanity or your own insanity, ignoring the fact that the game actually has a story that's pretty enjoyable. Number 6, Grand Theft Auto 5. It sort of ends up on every gamer's list by default. I didn't like GTA 4, so I was pretty reserved about GTA 5, but it turned out to be one of Rockstar's best games to date, and certainly for me to be the best game of the series. A fantastic cast, phenomenal writing, an interesting story, and missions that I actually gave a damn about. The world feels more alive than the majority of open world titles, and I'll hands down call it one of the best looking games on consoles. While I do believe it's down to the brand that makes it so popular, I can't deny it's a story and world worth investing in. Number 5, State of Decay. Zombies have exploded out of proportion in recent memory, and the gaming market has been flooded with every dead known to man. State of Decay turned out to be a surprising encapsulation of what makes the genre so appealing. Great stealth, strong resource management, an upgrade system, base defense, an immense amount of weapons and gear, and a fantastically unique open world makes State of Decay a well-rounded zombie game. It provides an unbelievable amount of tension when you accidentally make a noise and send a horde your way, and keeping your various survivors from losing their minds and their lives is something you find quite rewarding. Number 4, Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag. Shockingly, as someone who's found the Assassin's Creed games to become completely contrived and out of steam, I really didn't have much interest in Black Flag, besides the fact there's never been a truly good pirate game. Then Assassin's Creed 4 came along and did everything about a pirate's life just about right. The realistic open world with a dynamic weather system creates heated naval combat, harpooning that really drives your patience, and a rather robust RPG system makes conquering the world of Black Flag worth it. Upgrading Edward and the Jackjaw and establishing a strong fleet constantly keep you busy, and I wasn't always bothered by the repetition, apart from the tedious tail missions. And for the first time in this series, a stealth system that actually works. If the series stays in this direction, I'll definitely find myself back on board Ubisoft's ship again. Number 3. Metro Last Light. While I was definitely disappointed in the convoluted story, Metro Last Light improves on almost every level of Metro 2033. It heightens the terror, and trying to avoid combat and get through a grim setting is actually nerve-wracking yet completely exciting. Despite being one of the most underrated games of 2013, Metro brings together the bleakest elements of an apocalypse in a visually exciting, edge-of-your-seat thriller with a very nihilistic interpretation of war and the unknown. The chaotic firefights and suspenseful trips through dark passageways keep the game from losing its steady pace. I'll even argue it's essentially the best horror game of 2013. Number 2. BioShock Infinite. While admittedly over time, the excitement surrounding BioShock Infinite wasn't long lasting, the last 20 minutes are the reason I love storytelling. Infinite is one of the most innovative and unique narratives to come out of a game this year, as it found a way to make the story clear and readable, but still left you scratching your head about what happened. Booker and Elizabeth had brilliant interaction, and you found yourself being emotionally gripped by their relationship and harsh lives. Outside the story, you had a solid first-person shooter that's filled with exhilarating and heart-racing moments. Brutal yet satisfying combat with a mixture of guns and vigors stopped the shooting from becoming completely stale, and I can't forget the use of the skyline hook to maneuver the battlefield. BioShock Infinite has definitely left an impression on me, as it's one of those games that can truly inspire. Number 1. The majority of you are subscribed to this channel for this reason, so it comes as no surprise that The Last of Us is undeniably one of the greatest games I have had the fortune of playing. It's easy for someone to say a game is one of the best, but I will never turn my back on my feelings towards what Naughty Dog has created. Visceral, intense, and yet truly beautiful, The Last of Us is a perfect example of encapsulating the human condition in a time of fear. It's a story that's deeply profound in its expression of survival, love, loss, and ultimately reality. It's a harsh game that makes you go through the extremes to protect yourself in the violent yet gratifying combat. Joel and Ellie are incredibly well fleshed out if purposely left in mystery, and the terrifying enemy AI keeps you constantly thinking about your next move. Even the multiplayer captures the narrative's intensity. It's such a shame it only ever got released on the PlayStation, because The Last of Us is a game that defines the emotional beauty of the interactive medium, and it's a game that already has left a mark on how far gaming has come.